The Spinoff Podcast Network.
This is Kiwi is back for a brand new season with more inspiring kōrero from special guests including rugby player, father and role model TJ Perenara.
My family bring me joy. Rugby brings me joy too, but it's not the same joy as my family brings me.
And global dancer and choreographer Kirsten Dodgen.
For some reason, people think I'm very intimidating.
Listen to the new season of This is Kiwi, brought to you by the Spinoff Podcast Network in collaboration with KiwiBank. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you find it hard staying optimistic with all the financial news in the media? I'm Bernard Hickey, and on my podcast, When the Facts Change, I'm here to help you navigate the ever-changing landscape of economics in Aotearoa. So join the conversation every Friday on When the Facts Change, brought to you by the Spinoff Podcast Network in partnership with KiwiBank.
No mai haere mai, piki mai, kake mai. My name is Toby Manhire. This is SUPERPOD 2022, Anno Domini, and we have a full studio here at Spinoff Towers. And I have before me a box of Christmas crackers, which is the new tradition. I mean, it's a tradition as of last year, that's a tradition. They're a little damp because I had walked on the bus and it was raining.
You walked on the bus?
Walked from the bus and it was raining. Thanks for picking me up on that, Duncan. Appreciate that. The last year we did this, Leonie was just reminding me, and the crackers had, rather than each having a hat, a gift, and a joke, one cracker had all the jokes.
And hats.
One had all the hats. Oh, was the one with all the...
All the jokes and hats were in one cracker.
I think Alice Neville might have got them all. She's not here because she's busy with Annie, who was newly born this year. A little kind of round of applause for Annie.
Highlight.
Well done. It's our highlight of the year. So what I thought we'd do, everybody can introduce themselves. We'll go round in a circle. I don't think I've got enough crackers, but we won't let that hold us up. Introduce yourself, pull a cracker, read a joke, tell us what you got, and then if you like, you can say whether or not there was an overarching theme in your area of podcastery or interest, really. Who's going to go first? Maybe two of the originals, Alex Casey and Duncan Grieve.
Hello. So is it a fight to see who will...
Yeah, there's only...
I'm going to hold the
winner.
snappy thing.
Hey.
Wow, I got everything.
It works.
And a carabiner.
So read your
What does
joke,
it mean?
Alex.
I actually need a carabiner. That's a useful cracker gift. Okay, everybody. Ooh. What do you get if you eat Christmas decorations?
Oh. Tinnitus?
Oh, damn it. You wrote these, you bastard. You wrote
These
them.
are handmade crackers. Pretty amateurish.
And introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah, okay. Hello. My name is Alex Casey. I am a co-host of The Real Pod, the Spinoff's longest-running podcast. We recap reality television and popular culture in Aotearoa every week.
Wow.
Been going 8 years strong, haven't we, Jane?
So long.
First time I met Jane was at our very first record.
It was.
All those moons ago.
And I love to tell the story that Duncan brought us together. He came along for the first record just for Alex and I to get to know each other and to introduce us and just kind of, make things less awkward. And then never left. Fucking never left.
I didn't. I'm still here.
We're still waiting for him to leave.
Was there Alex and Jane Yee, who is with you there, was there an overarching theme or is that asking too much?
Overarching theme.
I was thinking, there was some cancellations and some, with the block was cancelled and all that sort of stuff.
It was quite a wild year, wasn't it, really? Because you had some amazing successes. Celebrity Treasure Island was just another fantastic season. And then you had Dancing with the Stars, which was riddled with COVID.
As was the block.
Yeah.
We had people standing down and all of that.
And then the block was just a disaster, full stop, to the point that they're not doing it next year.
House Rules 2023. The block is over. We also had the big furore with F-Boy Island. I don't know if that's what you're referring to in terms of cancellation culturally.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Was that was cancelled? Was it cancelled?
Culturally.
Yeah, culturally.
Literally, no.
Literally, no.
Did anybody watch it?
I watched every
Alex
single
did.
episode.
Okay.
But I don't know. How do we... How do we sum that up?
Oh, look, it was
as a
just another
theme?
dramatic year in reality television, which is, both on screen and off.
The tagline of Celebrity Treasure Island this year was "Expect the unexpected," which I think has never been said before in human history. So I'm going to steal that and sum that up as a very original summary of this year.
Simon Pound and Madeline Chapman, why don't you
how's
crack
our
it?
technique there? Oh,
So winner for,
Simon with the win.
Win for Poundy.
is it a win though? I get the hat.
He's got a little notepad.
Okay, what have I got here? Oh, God,
It's a
that's
little lovely little notepad.
That's very handy for when I'm interviewing a mouse. And keeping up with the hot jokes. Great material. Who hides in the bakery at Christmas?
Yes. The gingerbread man.
It's actually quite good.
Come on then.
I feel like Toby's treating it like a quiz and he's trying to win.
I wasn't actually. I was trying to do some lovely audio padding for Samuel, who is running things today. Hi, Samuel. How are you?
Hi, Toby. I'm doing marvelous.
Thanks for being with us.
And do we capitulate? It's a mince spy.
Very good.
I'm kind of into
That's
that.
good. You really splashed out on the crackers this year, Toby.
I did. Simon, tell us what you do and whether or not there is an overarching theme in the world of business. I'm really springing this on everybody.
Yeah. So I host Business is Boring that started probably 7 years ago with a 6-episode run, and it's still going, which is really cool.
Like Duncan Grieve, just never left.
Yeah, love it. And I guess the theme there was probably everyone being all wanting to understand what NFTs and crypto and Web3 meant, and if all of these companies with all of this money and bluster meant anything. And then it turned out most of them didn't. So that was kind of funny. And outside of that, just the other theme is just how there's still just so many amazing people to chat to. Like there's just so many great entrepreneurs and people doing cool things here.
Is there anyone who ended up being a terrible villain and went to prison that you spoke to over the course of those 6 or 7 years?
A few people that we've spoken to have ended up, in the headlines for other things, and little clips from our interviews turning up in Spinoff stories. And
High Court. Name nobody who will have to get
that's
this
the thing, people at the edges. It's a thin line between Steve Jobs and Elizabeth Holmes.
Let's go to Leonie and Aihe, who are pulling a cracker. They want an interesting technique there from Aihe Butler. Oh!
Yeah, you're supposed to grab the little tab on the inside that has the...
It tells you a lot about a person the way they pull a cracker.
Oh, yeah.
What have you
That's
got in
not
there?
even, no
Aihe?
way. Like what is this, a bookmark? A tag?
It looks like a gift tag.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This is really great.
You did make these.
Who is Santa's favourite singer? Play on words. They had a biopic released about them this year.
Elton John.
Oh, close.
Take it.
Elvis Presley?
Bang on. Yeah, nice.
I got you 50% of the way there.
You did.
Elvis. That's just someone Elvis.
How's your year been, Aihe?
Year's been fantastic.
Who are you and what do you do?
Oh, thanks, Jane.
Ko te Aihe Butler tēnei, ko au te kaiwhakahaere pāhorangi or the Spinoff. My name's Aihe Butler and I'm the podcast manager at the Spinoff. It's been a great year. I spent a lot more of it in the office working than I did last year. Big improvement, great pods, just all around. Fucking great.
Well, it's great to have you. This whole cracker thing, I think let's leave it to one side at this point and just pick off.
I think about 60% of the people introduce themselves.
There's a system at work. There's a magic sauce, and I'm going to go to Leonie Holden. Hi, Leonie.
Kia ora.
Help me. Tell us about you. Were the host of Ne this year.
Correct.
tell us a little bit about that. Was there an overarching theme that went through that podcast, or in Te Ao Māori, if you like, or in anything else?
Oh, great question. I mean, there was an overarching theme in our podcast, hosted by myself and Mariana Johnson and Te Kuru Jews. And that was just Māori excellence was the theme. But then you've got the flip side of that, which is sort of watching race relations in Aotearoa sort of fall apart in the outside world, which is the part of some of the overarching theme of Aotearoa in 2022. So, yeah, I mean, our little bubble, loved it. It was a great year. It was a great year for Māori excellence. There was lots of people out here on the kaupapa doing awesome stuff. We interviewed just like something like 28 or 29 of just like the best people in the country over the course of the year about what they do. Yeah, it was me.
Leonie also deserves a huge shout out for delivering the Spinoff Podcast Network's first ever podcast episode completely in Te Reo Māori.
Kia ora. Yeah, that was definitely a highlight of the year / my life.
Jane Yee, the commissar-in-chief of the Spinoff podcast empire, do you have anything to add to what you were chatting with Alex Casey before, or do we treat you as a two-headed hydra in the real pod?
We definitely are too, because we've already compared notes about who our heroes and villains are for this year, and they match. So,
really?
we really don't have any original ideas to offer.
Did they actually match before you came in here, or did you devise them?
No,
together?
They genuinely did. But no, great year for the network. If I can speak on behalf of just the network on the whole, we've got. You might not have, from the outside, you might not have noticed a lot of changes. Your favourite shows that you know and love still being just tracking along, but in the background, lots of things going on to make next year a very exciting year. So we've got lots of new series in development. We're in a beautiful new studio that we moved into this year, which has been a huge highlight. We have Samuel joined the team, and anyone who's listened to any of our pods and heard Samuel pop up, you'll already be familiar. And it's just, we're going big. We're going big next year. Exciting things afoot.
Wow.
Big is good.
Big is good.
Just, you mean like longer? Like 1 hour,
longer,
45
more
minutes
monopods.
of Duncan on the media merger.
And another big news, Bernard moving to Auckland. Bernard Hickey couldn't be with us here today. He's very sad about that. He replied yes to the invite, but is not here. But exciting that he's moving to Auckland because we can get him in here in the studio.
I'm so excited about that.
It's happening real soon
Love a bit
too.
of Bernard in the mix. Be good to have him around.
He's gonna call you during this.
He does
pod.
often call me during podcasts. I don't know. I preempted that and had a big conversation with him last evening. So hopefully that will stem it for now.
Oh, yeah, didn't he call during last year's SUPERPOD?
Yes, he did.
And
He did.
and we all thought it was a great joke, and then he was like, I've got a huge problem.
I think Jane had to leave the studio to go deal with it. Good times. Duncan Grieve, you're here in your capacity as the host of The Fold, I believe.
I am.
Tell us a bit about that. That's about the media, isn't it? And I'm wondering whether there were any themes that overarched the year in media in Aotearoa.
Yeah, I mean, I found it a really fascinating year in the media. Like the government's trying to do a lot of kind of sort of structural reforms, trying to merge its two big entities and give them a bunch more money to try and make them do a bunch more things. That's also suddenly feeling very coin flippy, whether it even happens now, which is, I don't know whether it's good or bad, given that like I might have spent most of the year talking about a thing that will not be. But also I think there's just been this general theme of like, it's been a year, this is always a very sort of fluid, chaotic industry, or certainly has been over the last sort of 15 years. But this was the year where the sort of presumptive incumbents who appeared to have won the war for attention, being sort of Facebook, Google, Instagram kind of thing, suddenly felt like unstable, threatened, Netflix as well, all had their share prices super impacted, all sort of faced attention competitors that seemed to have figured out a thing that they had to do a rearguard action against. And so you basically had, the disruptors being disrupted, and that is just a really kind of big and bizarre thing to go through. And that's been the big sort of theme of the year, I think.
Thank you, Duncan. Madeline Chapman, the editor of the Spinoff, and could be here in a range of different capacities, such as your polymath style. Are you going to speak about the Spinoff in a partner content capacity on this podcast, or are you going to speak about sport?
I think I'm going to speak about sport, just because the Spinoff obviously covers also a lot of the topics in this room, but sport was a big one this year on the Spinoff, which it's not every year. So I will be covering sport. And the overarching theme for sport in New Zealand, I think, was a lot of people learning that some women have hand-eye coordination and are quite good at catching and throwing things, and people want to watch it. And that was great. It was a great theme to have.
It was great. That's actually my hero, my highlight, the Black Ferns. Are we doing heroes highlights? I'm sorry, everybody. Let's pull a cracker. Jane, we didn't do a cracker.
Okay, and I do feel like I need to shoulder some of the blame for the mayhem. Oh, God.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Sum up 2022 in a single cracker.
Third time lucky.
You don't often see a cracker that takes 3 balls to crack.
I got a key ring, which is helpful.
That can open a beer.
Oh, it's a key ring with a bottle opener.
While Toby's sorting himself out, I do have to apologise. I did send the brief for what we were discussing during this podcast at, what time was it?
9:19 p.m.
Yeah.
Who's counting?
So if we seem a little disorganised, perhaps not got all our ideas all together, that might be something to do with it.
Oh, that's also part of the rich tradition of the SUPERPOD.
True.
This joke has Trade Me theme, which is quite
very topical.
I've got a live trade me happening right now.
Right at this very moment, you're trying to shift some of your stuff.
It's a whole
on
conspiracy theory. My neighbour's involved.
What's the latest?
The shelves are on their way out.
Okay.
Everyone relax.
Did you get it?
Has it auto extended, or is it actually?
No. It's the pickup itself.
How much did you get for your shelves?
Oh, here's the thing. So we got an offer early on, $55. Rejected it because we had 22 watches. I was like, don't be stupid. We're going to get more than that.
Yeah.
They sold for 40.
Oh, that's the low
And they were sold to the person who made the offer. That's not 2022. What is?
I feel like they're on another SUPERPOD gloating about this somewhere else in Tāmaki.
Okay, so the joke is, why did no one bid for Rudolph and Blitzen on Trade Me?
Well, these are New Zealand.
Localised.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Okay. We do a story on...
There were 2 reindeer.
Oh, yeah,
Two deer.
Two deer.
They were 2 deer.
Oh, they were 2 deer.
Can we do a story on whoever's... Because obviously, clearly a local production putting these together. Someone's job to write these jokes.
His name is Toby Manhire.
They at least swapped out eBay for Trade Me, I guess.
Okay, well...
Have them on Business is
back
Boring.
in the day was the market.
You should have them on for their covert marketing, guerrilla marketing skills.
I will say this.
What I would say
is, that's the thing that Duncan and I both started saying at the start of every sentence.
It's really bad.
In conversations. What I would say is, like, what a couple of knobs. The overarching theme. I think the overarching theme was people seem to be saying the word headwinds a lot in the world of politics. I host a politics podcast. We've gone by Lunchtime. And it's just the headwinds. You know, obviously what's happened in Ukraine, obviously the residues of all of the lockdowns around the world, supply chain disruptions, and so on and so forth. So that's impacted the country enormously in terms of the cost of living crisis and a range of other challenges. But none of that can change the fact that there were some self-inflicted wounds, some serious self-inflicted wounds, the largest of which, of course, was Three Waters, which most people agree reform was required in terms of that water infrastructure area, but clearly that was a failure for a government that has achieved some incredible things in terms of communications. The communications on that were dire, and I guess that's where we are as we sit on the precipice of an election year. We're going to go around now and talk villains and heroes. And where should we start? Maybe we'll start with Jane. And are you...
Well, we can talk together.
Do you want to, Jane and Alex?
Should we talk at the same time?
I think we can talk to the same topic, but one at a time.
Okay.
Much like
like a married couple finishing each other's sentences.
For a deep cut for Real Pod fans, one at a time in the lift, Alex. Remember? One at a time.
Great reference.
Thank you. Okay.
Everyone's losing it in the room. You can't use it. They're just silently pissing themselves laughing. It's crazy.
Long pause before the laughter erupts.
There it is. Shall we start with villain?
Yes, okay. 3, 2, 1. Mike King.
Mike King went on Celebrity Treasure Island. He was there for about 3.5 minutes. Blew it up completely. Was a total jackass. He was.
He was.
Honest opinion.
He came in hot, and he's acknowledged that post-show that he kind of became a monster in their game.
Felt like some PR work doing that though. There was really no excuse for his behaviour.
Oh, no excuse. But yeah, he was like extremely sexist. He called someone a cow, which I haven't heard for a long time.
And I think a B word.
And a B word.
And this was an aberration from his real world Mike King, is his position.
What does that word mean?
What does aberration mean?
Well, like that, what you're saying that wasn't the real him.
No, and it felt more like this was the real him.
Yeah, maybe magnified a bit.
It felt like the version
being filmed.
Yeah, and also being in a situation where I guess you have, I don't know, he went in very deliberately behaving like this. Before he actually went into the game, he was on camera saying, I'm going to go in there and psychologically screw with everyone, which seems interesting sort of stance to take when your whole thing is mental health. Yeah. He was also there with his daughter, Alex King, and he kind of screwed her over at the same time and famously got himself in as the head of the Women's Alliance.
Finally.
That's a Tony Abbott move. Back to politics when he appointed himself Minister for Women.
Yeah, well, that's exactly that's our Real Pod version of your politicsy stuff. Basically, is what's going on.
It's all politics, isn't it? Really.
So he's our villain, our hero.
3, 2, 1. Dame Susan Devoy.
Dame Susan Devoy.
Seamless.
On the same show, Celebrity Treasure Island.
That's our favourite. It's our favourite one to recap, I think.
This was the show of the year.
Yeah.
You know, there was nothing even came close. But Dame Susan Devoy, the reveal that Dame Susan Devoy was just this absolute super freak. Was such a thrill to watch every week. She came in, she was just a quote machine.
The lady is a dame, and she was, I don't know, and perhaps this speaks to us having preconceptions about what a dame should be, but she was everything that I didn't expect a dame to be.
She was swearing. She had all these catchphrases. Like she's like, I've got eyes like piss holes in the snow.
Blind Jim's got a vag.
She talked about the possum's vag and like how wanted breast milk. It was just crazy. Like she was just saying that every week just the craziest thing you could ever imagine. And she made it real far in the competition.
She did.
You know, not to get to, but you know, like older women in shows like this, anyone over the age of 30, basically invisible, silent, gets sent home early. Dame Suze was in every frame, almost right until the end.
At one point, she just like ate an entire crayfish, just smashed it open, and then smashed it by eating it. Then had one of these in the moment interviews. Was just sat there answering questions. Says, "Oh, I think I need to do a little vomit." Goes off to the bushes. We hear the whole thing happening. She comes back, literally just dusting herself off, sits down. Right, where were we? And that
incredible.
Was just
legend.
She's so resilient.
4-time world champion. We love it.
Dame Susie D. She's our hero.
Yeah. Duncan Grieve. What about in media? Anything to match that level of villainy or heroism?
No villains.
No villains. Mine are real hack. I'm real ashamed now with hindsight, but that's also
well. Let's just go straight to Simon.
No, I mean, Like my villain, like I know I feel like Elon Musk has been the villain of the year for people, just the way he's run Twitter. But I don't think that he qualifies. That's just chaotic. It doesn't really matter. Basically, I think that Mark Zuckerberg, the way that he runs his platforms, is like legitimately bad for humanity. We started the year, if you'll remember, with the protests at Parliament, which were, largely a result of people just getting the wrong end of quite an important stick. And, the information ecosystem that kind of drew people there, I think unavoidable, while there were other elements to it, and other platforms involved, I think that the biggest one, and we saw huge amounts of it in terms of when you looked at the engagement data, like a lot of it just happened on Facebook. And for his response to that over the course of the year to basically be to withdraw from news, he fired a good friend of ours, Toby, David Grant, who ran their accelerator program worldwide. They've sort of turned the temperature down, turned the distribution down on news, and just in general, like you can't spend 15 years telling people, come here, get your news, everybody's here, it's awesome, and then just be like, actually, it's a bit inconvenient for us to do that, so we're just going to get rid of it. I think that's and not really announce that. I think so just the information architecture of us as a society is profoundly weakened. I think he is basically the reason why. So that man is a villain. My hero is another sort of tech bro, I suppose, New Zealander, Hamish McKenzie, one of the co-founders of Substack. Toby, you interviewed him recently, because he used to work for Elon Musk and had some interesting things to say about that. Substack's an email newsletter platform that basically allows writers to go direct to their audience, and the sort of incentives, you really see the power of sort of platform engineering and incentive structures with technology, because I think that, I subscribe to a shitload of Substacks. I'm sure a lot of people listening and in this room do as well. But the style of writing, the sort of tenor of the conversation, and the just the incentive structure it allows, it feels like this ray of light. It's absolutely not uncomplicated, but it felt like the contrast between the sort of advertising and data-driven model versus the people pay for a thing that they like model was never more manifest in the contrast between those two people and platforms.
Kia ora, Duncan. Simon Pound.
Yeah. So the villain going 180 degrees on Duncan, I think, is Elon Musk. And
I really feel for Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk thinking it's been an okay year, sipping on a Powerade, weeping.
Yeah, I totally agree with the Mark Zuckerberg. And isn't it wild how Facebook is now just like desperately trying to serve you up all these kinds of like near viral content from the past, like old clips of TV shows and old it must be because I'm like a 40-year-old guy. Can you show me UFC? I've never watched the UFC. I don't like watching it. And it's just endless UFC on my side. But they're just so desperate to get you to pay attention to it. And it's so regressive and retreading things. It's wild. But Elon Musk, he every time you open Twitter now is just like this immensely sad experience. And I saw this great thing that someone posted, like, if he's being the dick, why do I have to leave? but then every time you open it up, you're like, oh, man. But yeah,
the best description I've seen of him among the many is that it's someone who went to an open mic night, bombed, and so then bought the bar. So he hold open mic nights every night. And a few people would have to politely applaud.
Yeah, and just seeing them in, showing the way they were making decisions to kind of like lower the reach of people who were spreading like dangerous misinformation and going, look, they were doing it. And you're like, yeah, of course they were. These guys are all loons. But yeah, real sad and really interesting to see how him and SBF and the Elizabeth Holmes thing have all been knocking down part of that big idea of like the entrepreneur as the sole genius, which has been such a big kind of theme in the venture capital based boom, and lots of people kind of mirroring themselves or trying to be like these people. And so that's kind of the ongoing like villain side of business. But the hero, on the flip side, you're not meant to have favourites, but I'm going to say what my favourite podcast of the year was. It's like children. You're not meant to have favourites in your children. You definitely do.
That's true. Sometimes they change. It can be a different one on a different day, but
they all have the chance to. Yeah. They just have to act favourable, and then.
Or sometimes it's just the least shit behaving one, you know.
No, you definitely don't. You love them all, but some of them are more fun to spend time with sometimes. The best podcast of the year is the absolute opposite to that kind of individualistic, self-mythologizing leader. And that was a chat I had earlier on with Michelle Wilson of Our Period Care. That was just such a cool chat to hear her talk about the role of... She came out of corporate law to start a kind of like natural apothecary, and she put it down to reconnecting with her ancestry and her tupuna, actually calling her through dreams to get into the forest and start reconnecting with traditional ways of doing things. And the way she told that story was just such an antidote to so much of the business stories and this kind of the niceness, and it was just fascinating. So if anyone is looking for a good little holiday listen, seek that one out.
Excellent. Thank you, Simon. Mad Chapman.
I have a sports one, but then I also just have a very quick spin-off one, which is Simon Henry is my villain.
Hero or villain?
Villain. The now known as the Eurasian Fluff CEO, for his comments about Nadia Lim. He just seems like a guy who doesn't say or do nice things. So he's the general individual villain, but the sports villain is Sanitarium. It's my sports villain. Very easy.
God. I'll just hide this.
Up and go. Big up and go too.
Big up and go. Big, yep.
Yeah, easy to say New Zealand rugby could be a villain if we're talking about the World Cup, which was a great event. But Sanitarium is just has been a partner of New Zealand rugby for 20 plus years, has never supported women's rugby, even in the lead up to the World Cup, didn't think to include them in any of their promotions. I don't know, they might come out and say it was a legal thing, but I think it was just, according to their comments to me, just didn't think about it. And then go on Fair Go and promote that they're now finally doing Black Ferns cards and then get celebrated for it as if it's this huge forward-thinking progressive thing that Sanitarium is doing by giving Black Ferns some cards when they've been doing those cards for years and years and never once. Well, they did once when they included Super Rugby players and basically non-All Black champs players. They got a couple in there. But yeah, the kind of corporates, it's not even jumping on the bandwagon late because they were on it and just ignoring half of it. And then now they've turned around and everyone's congratulations, you're amazing, well done.
Yeah.
And just absolutely basking in it. So they are my villain. Also, they don't seem to like gay people as a church, as a company owned by Seventh-day Adventists. So that probably doesn't help when your people want you to sponsor a rugby team that has quite a few gay people in it. So my hero is, the Black Ferns, but more specifically Jonah Nanwu, owner of The Hand, which I am absolutely obsessed with. Yeah, specifically The Hand. I think The Hand sort of wraps up the kind of everything about their campaign and just kind of what you would want. Everyone should try to be like The Hand, which is that she subbed in late, did this amazing thing. I obsessed over the very specific thing of her winning a line out right at the end, which sealed the win for the Black Ferns. But turns out, after talking to a lot of rugby players, that's exactly what they expected her to do because she's been doing that every game since she was playing as a teenager, and that is just it was a surprise to everyone there, but it was absolutely not a surprise to anyone who would ever try to win a line out against her. So it's sort of the most reliable but also thrilling can't believe that happened. Also, her name's Jonah, and she was born in 1995, so you have to assume that she was named after Jonah Lomu, which is quite cool.
Can I just ask, if the hand doesn't get in the way, what is the percentage likelihood of England mauling over and scoring?
125%. Yeah, it was literally the hand that stopped it.
Yep, contest the lineouts. That's the mantra. Please.
All right, coach.
Thank you, Mad. Politics. The villains. I was just thinking while you guys were talking about Zuckerberg and Elon Musk that in a way. There was a book that was written a couple of years ago by Ruth Ben-Ghiat called Strong Men, and how we are living in an age of strong men, which is kind of terrifying to think because sometimes it doesn't seem like that at all. But when you think of Putin and Kim Jong-un and various others around the world who aspire to that, obviously Donald Trump in recent times, it's a kind of almost the quintessential villain, the strong man, but that's a real thing. Otherwise, I had a couple of Liz's, Liz Gunn and Liz Truss, and I feel mean doing this because he's the least villainous person imaginable. Chris Farfoy is not a villain, couldn't be less villainous in terms of the way he presents, but he still kind of epitomises something, I think. Villain's the wrong word, but in terms of the failure of the government, he unfortunately personifies a lot of it in terms of what he left. He got a whole lot of stuff loaded onto him as a minister because there was a lack of depth in cabinet, so that's one shortcoming. He left on the way out an immigration pile, he left the hate speech in a state, and he left the media merger in a state, and then he went through the revolving door into becoming a lobbyist, and so, wrapped up into that one, decent human being, smart guy, is a lot of stuff that I think is a bit rotten. Hero, in parliamentary terms in New Zealand, I think that Adrian Rurafia, who's the new speaker, has just been what everybody needs at this point of a quite tumultuous year, a calming, sober, wise. He feels like he's a bit arm around the shoulder and just trying to get everybody to calm the fuck down a bit. Notwithstanding the arrogant prick comment in the House in the last week. Aihe, what have you got?
My villain hero thinking for the year is very much studio-centric for the Spinoff Podcast Network. And you might be able to help with this, Toby. We had a power surge earlier in the year that fried our old sound desk. And so my villain, the person responsible for the power for this building...
Is it me?
But is it Wayne Brown?
Wayne Brown.
Is it somebody from the council? How does the power...
I don't think he was in power then, but...
Electricity? Is it the landlord? Hard to say.
I think it's Toby. I think you were right first time. Just too much power in the room,
Nice. I see what you did there. My hero for the year absolutely blasted that out of the water, and I haven't even thought about our broken sound desk because my hero is Samuel Robinson.
Your hero was Samuel.
Intern from broadcasting school who's absolutely smashed it in every way since coming in, and has just made my life at work infinitely better.
And
that's
all right, I'm just going to changing mine.
She's changing our pays.
And Janie for being the world's best boss.
I'll stop. After you have to say that.
Wow.
Queer pal.
Oh, it's me.
Leonie.
Yes, starting with villains. Get that out of the way. Kind of an obvious one from me and fairly recent, but I think symbolic of a bigger problem in Aotearoa. So I'm going with Kaipara Mayor Craig Jepson, who, as everybody knows, is the mayor who banned karakia from council meetings from the get-go, from the very first council meeting that he held as new mayor, and blocked Councillor Paniora from starting with karakia, blocked her a number of times. She sort of slipped it in there in her maiden speech. And after a lot of, feedback and backlash from the public and pests like me. He has since reversed his ban on that. However, looking at sort of where he is positioned, it's not just a clueless old dude who doesn't really know any better and thinks that karakia equals a prayer to a god or some gods, when that's not really the case. They're not exactly analogous. He's part of a group called Democracy Northland, which includes one of our Twitter faves, Duncan's eldest daughter, Robin Grieve.
Gee, my second eldest daughter.
Oh, sorry. Oh, my God. Duncan's second eldest daughter, Robin Grieve.
His oldest daughter would not join the ACT Party.
Yeah. And the big bee in their bonnet is Māori wards being established without consultation, which is hilarious because they're literally in Northland, which is the rohe that very famously never ceded sovereignty to the government. So, I mean, I guess in that way they've got to come from a long line of non-consultation before changing people's rights. But yeah, that guy really got under my skin, not just because my family whakapapa to kaipara, but that was a big part of it. It really sort of brought back to me again the need to vote in local elections. That whole area has got a lot of wealthy farmers and landowners and a lot of poor Māori families and not that much in between. So it's like a really good, actually makes quite a bit of difference if you get out there and vote in a local election. Anyway, so that guy can suck it. My heroes for the year, 2022 was the 50th anniversary of the Te Reo Māori petition being presented to Parliament, and my heroes is Te Taurāwhiri, the Māori Language Commission. I think that they anchored the celebration of that really important anniversary incredibly well. And I felt the effects of all of the hundreds, if not thousands, of little projects that they put out into the world in celebration of that. There were, big occasions marked on the steps of Parliament where the petition was handed over. There were a lot of smaller events all over the country. There were people telling their individual stories. They partnered with the Spinoff and told just so many different, exciting individual stories about real loss and reclamation. And it really, I said something earlier, it was very half glass, half empty about sort of race relations in Aotearoa. And it's very easy to sort of pick a side, half empty, half full, depending on the day and how you feel. But this year, Te Taurāwhiri really managed to make Te Reo feel like it's the inevitable tidal wave that we all know that it is, but sometimes you get a little bit discouraged. But yeah, so I feel like it was the beginning or the middle, even considering that the beginning started a long time ago, the middle of something very exciting for Aotearoa.
Kia ora, I'm Alex Casey, Senior Writer at The Spinoff. We wouldn't exist without the ongoing support of our generous members. If you're able to, you can make a donation at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
Kia ora, I'm Duncan Grieve, founder of The Spinoff. You can help us keep all of The Spinoff's award-winning journalism free for everybody by becoming a member today at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
Are you curious about how business can be better? I'm Simon Pound, and I host Business is Boring, a podcast where I kōrero with some of the most interesting people in entrepreneurship, commerce, and making things happen. Tune in to Business is Boring every Tuesday, brought to you by the Spinoff Podcast Network in partnership with Spark Business Lab.
We're gonna just. Jane held up a message to me saying, "Don't worry about the lowlights or highlights."
That's the stuff you're not supposed to. That's why I do it. If I wanted everyone to know that, I'd have said it on mic.
But this is a podcast where it's like people want to feel like they're really, enjoying that exciting under the hood chat. Like, shall we or shall we not do the highlights and the lowlights? This is the magic right now.
Okay, and I've changed my mind because I do have a highlight I need to speak to. First of all,
but we're going to do them really quickly.
Okay, they will be quick. But
Really
first of all,
quickly.
I just want to clarify, just in case there's any confusion, different Robin Grieve. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Sorry. Slight inside joke there. Robin Grieve, the one that I was talking about, is in fact a very racist old man
300-year-old
who just
man.
happens to share a name with Duncan's daughter.
I can do a real quick highlight.
Well, lowlights, highlights, we're going to do them together.
Lightning round.
But just got to be really quick. No pissing around.
Okay. My low light is still COVID. My highlight, Duncan's chain.
Hey. He wears a chain now.
It's an audio medium, so you're going to need to explain it.
Okay, very quickly. I mean, Duncan. Wow, it is what it is. It's a lovely gold chain. Duncan. It's given us heaps of comedy material on the Real Pod this year. I mean, it's only quite a recent addition. So it's punching above its weight in terms of content.
It's pretty heavy, though. That's a pretty heavy weight to punch.
Have you given the chain a name? Does it have a name like Stuart or Peter?
Those are the two names. No, it doesn't. But I mean, it's really amazing the extent to which, like, we've not done a podcast since that it hasn't been like a decent content pillar on the Real Pod.
If he's wearing it, we're talking about it, and if he's not wearing it, we are wondering where it is. You know?
Yes.
So that's my highlight, and continues to be. So I imagine it may still be my highlight this time next year.
What was your low light?
COVID, just COVID. Just the most boring, but
Still bad.
My highlight and low light are the same thing. So my personal highlight and professional highlight actually was a successful public campaign to get Love Island into pubs.
Well done. Yeah, well done.
Thank you. I wrote a piece, caught the attention of a little radio station called ZM, and they hosted a viewing party at the Lula Inn, at which point I realised it's too loud and I can't see anything.
Terrible
and watching
idea.
Love Island at the pub is a terrible idea. So it was also my low light, but it was a powerful moment for me.
Low light is the moment that you rescinded you were descending into the inexorable time and aging, and you could no longer focus.
There was something that happened actually at the Lula Inn. Do you recall? It was the first time I had encountered the Be Real thing going off in a public situation, and everyone suddenly shot out of their seats and went, "It's Be Real time!" And I was like, "What?
It's time to be
going on?
It's time to be real, is what you say. It's time to be real.
It's time to be real." And everyone started getting real and taking their photos, which I think that's probably the big social media thing of this year, is it not?
Yeah,
Say so.
the new one.
I mean, we're all
TikTok's
on it,
still,
clearly.
TikTok's
Very
still going.
so on it. Love to be real.
It just spooked me out. That's all.
Although you can't always be real because we're on like China's time zone or something, and so half of them come in at like 1:20 in the morning, and so it pops up in the morning, and you've got to be real to do, and then you don't actually be real. You just choose the most interesting thing that happens to you, which totally goes against the idea of it.
So you're telling me you're on Be Real?
I've
Poundito.
got one to do now.
Wow. Do it now.
Do it now. Do it now.
The good thing about Be Real is I actually only have 6 friends on there, and so this is going to go out to 6 people. So you take a photo, and then you're only meant to take one, right? Because you're meant to look like whatever you look. But then you can see how many times people have taken this. There's a little
you can
thing.
retake.
You can see.
But you're
get wide
outed.
enough.
Slightly less
We're
real.
going to go. This is
I
really
feel
good.
so real right now.
Really good radio. Yeah.
Be Real, everybody.
We've been very real, by the way. Very natural. We're
It's not
we're
even
definitely
gonna- I'll
not all
have the
pulling
top of my
peace
head.
signs and
That's
thumbs
good.
up.
There we go.
Duncan, you go.
The highlight's been your hosting, honestly. My highlight and low light are kind of wrapped up into one, and which was basically last year. Magic Talk kind of blew up quite spectacularly with these just sort of ancient hosts saying sort of terrible stuff, and then this year it kind of it split into two, like the Way of the Light, which was Today FM, which what actually happened to the Frequency, which is like I just like new things, and there's just a general kind of it's interesting to have a new talk radio station, and how long it lasts, who knows. The other half of it, all of the people who are like, I want to be able to say this bad stuff, and I don't want any advertiser to stop me, went off and founded a new thing called The Platform, which is an online radio station. And in this kind of horrible way, it feels like it's been more successful. Like, I admire anyone who starts a thing, but basically it just seems quite like they're following the incentive structures of social media and just getting more and more sort of alarming. And they had this week where, in the aftermath of Stuff's Fire and Fury, where they had all of the sort of disinformation community on to kind of tell you how the world really worked, and that was spectacularly successful for them. I think they've since had a falling out, but just in general, like the sort of media environment that will encourage more platforms to come, and that's going to be a weird thing to watch. So, that's my low light and my highlight all bundled into one origin story.
Thank you very much. Simon, be real.
Cool, yeah, my low light was doing that Be Real. Although it is quite a nice thing because it is literally like 6 people, so you actually don't care. It's real cool. And then my highlight would be, in a pod-related thing, would be the story that Viv Conway, the founder of Girls Get Off, an a female pleasure brand that sells sex toys, and she told a story about being robbed. And that was fantastic, and I would recommend, I don't want to ruin it, but I'd recommend you seek out that podcast, as it's very funny.
And while you're there, listen to the back catalogue. Listen to all of them. And then once you're done with Business is Boring, just move around all the other titles in the Spinoff Podcast Network, would you please? Thank you.
Good work, Jane.
Mad.
Okay, well, not sure I'm going to be that one, but sticking to theme, highlight was the atmosphere at the World Cup final. I think that was something that hopefully will be replicated, but certainly had never happened before, in terms of just the very unique atmosphere of a full Eden Park that is not filled with lifelong rugby diehard fans and is more just filled with people wanting to have a good time. So that was the highlight. Low light was probably getting a front row view into kind of what seems to be the growing distrust and aggression towards media this year, which you sort of always know is there, but obviously in my current role, it now is much more direct, and it's quite disheartening to read. Lots of people who seem otherwise very onto it and compassionate being suddenly very aggressive and into conspiracy theory around media and the like. So that's been not as fun, and hopefully we can improve that next year.
Agreed, Jane. We'll just need to check with the Labour government if we're allowed to put that bit in.
Look, full disclosure, I wasn't really listening. No, I was actually doing some planning for when the facts change, because the cogs, they need to keep turning.
Okay, Bernard's on the line. That was a joke. Thank you, Mad. My low light, which is sort of related to that, is just the occupation and all the stuff around it, and a lot of vulnerable, distressed people, and a scattering of terrible people as well. Highlight was some of the cool stuff that we did this year, taking the spin-off back out into the world a bit after a year of being literally in our homes and then back in the office. And then this year we did some cool things. We got to catch up with Spinoff members who are our lifeblood. Just put that plug in there. Really important people genuinely to us that mean something like this, something as self-indulgent as this can happen. Thank you. But we did a debate in Wellington. We did a live pod in Tauranga, which Aihe was instrumental in, and was Jane too. And we did a very cool Candidates Diary event in our shop, which I think was a lovely event in terms of demonstrating the other side of politics that we don't necessarily encounter, the more human side of that. And then finally, the highlight thing was in terms of live events, was the Modern Māori Quartet, which our friend Aihe was part of. An absolute, I mean, I'm my clothes were burned. They melted onto my body.
Is that what you would say?
The heat in that room, it was just fantastic. It was a lot of fun, and it was what was it called? The 80s cassette with DJ Modi Order.
It
very cool.
was the DJ Modi Ora Hour of Power,
Oh, yeah.
I think.
It was really great. It was a lot of fun.
Was the very flimsy narrative thread that held together a excuse for 4 grown men to dress up and sing karaoke.
4 amazing singers, amazing movers,
4 grown
performers.
ass men.
But there was 1 star, and it was Te Aihe Butler.
Yeah.
Faux show.
And that's a good point to throw to you.
Kia ora,
Aihe.
folks.
Tell us your lowlights, highlights.
I did really, it's not my highlight, but I did really, really enjoy taking the spin-off pods out into the world. And I think really excited for doing that more. I think we should do a whole bunch more of that next year. Gone by Lunchtime in Tauranga. Business is boring down in Britomart at the Spark store. I think there's a big future in live pods in New Zealand, and we're at the forefront of it. My highlight was the Spinoff Podcast Network winning a bronze award at the New Zealand Podcast Awards for Best Network.
Should have been
my
gold.
low light is that it was the third of 3.
Yeah.
It was that we've got some stiff competition in the giant media organisations that also produce podcasts, apparently. Anyway, and also just on the podcast awards, shout out to Gone by Lunchtime for winning the best current affairs.
Yes.
In spite of Ben Thomas's best efforts.
Negging works. Leonie.
So my highlight of the year, we actually, our very last episode of Near for the year, we talked about our favourite episodes. I talked about my favourite episode, which was an interview with Dr. Ngahuia Murphy. Simon talked earlier about Michelle Wilson from Our Period Care. A lot of the mātauranga that Michelle uses in her work was taken from Dr. Ngahuia Murphy. She has researched and revitalised a whole lot of mātauranga around periods, around our atua wahine, our female goddesses in Te Ao Māori. She's sort of at the front of that kind of work, and she really does just change how you view the world. So I recommend going to listen to that episode of our interview with her. Personal highlight, of course, was I studied this year. I took a year off life and studied. Obviously, that's an obvious highlight, but the thing that really just comes to mind as a real highlight as a result of that is I also took a year off Twitter. It's good for you.
Good timing too. It's good time to not be there.
So good for you. I feel like that was half of the brain refresh I experienced, was just getting out of that hellscape. And then the low light is the fact that I'm back on there now that I'm
Really?
finished
Why?
studying. I don't know why. I can't look away.
Oh, God. Leonie.
It's like this thing, this pure thing that was holding me back from needing to be there. It's gone now. So I've descended back into hell. So that's the low light for me.
Good. Let's wind up very quickly with a prediction or a cast ahead to the future, the year 2023. Say anything you like. We'll just rip around the table, and then we'll all leave.
What I would say
is that
You have so many tabs open right now.
sorry, I just was very rude, very busy multitasking. What I would say is that I've already said it. Really, 2023 is just going to be like a cracker year for the podcast network,
Yes.
and that's in reference also to the crackers on the table. We have got so many exciting things planned. Stop laughing at my bad jokes. No, actually, I want you to laugh at my bad jokes. We've got so many exciting things planned, and I can't wait to share it with the world. That's all. Thank you very much.
Kia ora, Alex.
My predictions for reality television. I've already bored you with this on the podcast, but I think reality romance is dead. The dating show we're going to move away from locally after F-Boy Island and all the furore. Everything is just going to be the mole, the bridge, the fence, the door. It's just going to be like high concept, all in kind of early 2000s challenges, strategy
based stuff.
based. bringing together a large group of people from all walks of life, and particularly, I think, getting outdoors is what I'm seeing.
Tasky.
Tasky.
I love the task.
We don't want to see people in emotional pain anymore. We don't want to see heartbreak.
I mean, I think there's still room for Mass Australia, you know?
Yes.
I mean locally, sorry. I mean New Zealand.
Yeah, we just don't do that well.
We're going to go full wholesome.
Full wholesome, and we'll just save dating shows for, like, the Brits.
What
the
about wholesome
Americans.
dating shows that involve tasks?
I do think, actually, shout out to Down for Love, which won at the New Zealand TV Awards. I think the kind of observational, very hands-off, kind of just like what, like almost early dating shows we're going to see again.
Yes.
Because I know Down for Love is getting a second season at least. So these predictions are more just sort of facts.
I have a genuine prediction in terms of reality TV for New Zealand for next year, and this is if the merger goes ahead. Just less fancy launch parties for series. They're just going to be more cheap.
I think we're seeing that everywhere. I went to Avatar 2 last night. Just a bit of popcorn. Didn't even get a slider.
Not a special commemorative cup.
What was it?
Blue slushies.
Was it any
No
good?
face paint.
What was the verdict?
Fall asleep.
Oh. It's like 5 hours long, right?
It's 3.5.
Does Leona Lewis sing again in it?
No, but there is like The Weeknd, I think, is a song over the credits, which is like, whoa, it woke me up. Anyway, that's me.
The Chain.
That's a high concept reality TV show.
Yeah.
Man starts wearing a chain. So it's just an observational kind of. So a lot of this is related to Adrian Orr, and his deliberate engineering of a recession. I think next year could be quite a rough old one for the sort of traditional media, which is very reliant still on advertising, which is the first thing. This is so boring, but also interesting for me. Advertising is the big discretionary item on most businesses' agendas, and I think that is just going to have a profound impact. So I think you might sort of see that those kind of legacy media companies that are still highly reliant on advertising really struggle next year, which will accelerate this kind of move to digital even more so than what we have seen lately, and especially this kind of general shift from institutions to individuals that which, for better or worse, has been a big pattern lately. So that's almost in Alex's category of lesser prediction than a thing that is going to happen, obviously, but it's not going to be fun, though.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Duncan.
Get off your phone, Toby.
Sorry.
Is it Bernard?
No, it wasn't. It was just some urgent admin that I had to. Seriously, Simon.
More live pods. I reckon it's really good to get out there and get everyone together. So more of that next year.
That's how fast we were supposed to be, wasn't it?
He's a pro, isn't he?
Very good. Very, very good.
Mad.
My prediction is that the Women's Football World Cup, which we are hosting next year, will be huge as the biggest women's sporting tournament in the world, and also now New Zealand is somewhat interested in women playing sport and lots of international fans. So I think, and government investment as well. They're making gender neutral bathrooms and change rooms, which is very cool.
My local club, Western Springs, is going to be hosting the Norwegian team. We just found out in the last few days, which is very cool. And so I think there will be
Does
a
that
little
mean
bit
you get
of
a
that.
player billeted to your house?
Yeah.
Yep.
The lots of the facilities around Auckland have been upgraded in order to be the kind of practice and home bases for the teams that are in New Zealand. And so I think that'll be quite cool. I think that it might be quite cool if we all become, in our neighbourhood, become Norwegian for a little while. And
every country that's been hosted in New Zealand has like a local park that's their home park, and so it's inviting people to get on board with countries that aren't New Zealand in the World Cup. It'll be cool. I think it'll be very fun.
It's going to be so good. It's an election year next year. I was just thinking about the recent elections, and each one has had not quite an October surprise necessarily, but a sort of theme to it that wasn't expected in advance. In 2011, there was the Teapot Tapes. In 2014, there was the Dirty Politics book and The Moment of Truth, which was something else.
That's amazing.
2017 was the Jacinda Mania, the sort of with a few weeks out, Jacinda Ardern, and then 2020 was the COVID election. I guess that was sort of predictable, but didn't make it weird. It was punted back, and so in 2023 there will be something.
Because
Expect the unexpected, is that what you're saying?
Expect the unexpected.
Thank you. Yes, expect the unexpected in 2023. Te Aihe Butler.
My prediction for next year is that at least 2 other podcast hosts come to the SUPERPOD wearing chains.
Yeah, great prediction.
We got 2 this year.
Are you wearing a chain?
I've had a chain for many years.
Yeah, that's
just
not
a
new.
small, just a
not big enough.
delicate.
It's not big enough.
Just
Still
delicate
Cuban look,
small.
though.
It's not. It's a lowercase chain.
It doesn't.
Duncan's an all-caps chain.
Duncan's chain arrives in the studio several minutes before him.
It's like
Sets
security.
his place, makes sure that everything is in the right place. You know, yours is just a chain.
Duncan
just a
installed
chain,
a metal detector in the doors of the office just so it could go off every morning when he walks in.
Leonie.
Predictions for 2023. As you predicted, it's an election year next year. And
Amazing, Toby.
as it's
Could be
looking
in
like,
January 2024, strictly speaking.
Yeah, true.
But it won't be.
As it's looking like very likely that we're going to have a change of government, I'm predicting huge amounts of racism as campaign strategy. That's my prediction. Going back to the glass half empty me.
This is the
That
back on
seems
Twitter year,
unavoidable.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Samuel, do you have any predictions? Heroes or villains? Lowlights or highlights?
What I will say is that my highlight is being able to come here. I've been reading the Spinoff since I was in high school. So it's crazy to be here surrounded by podcasting titans, I will say. I predict that 2023 is going to be absolutely cracker for the Spinoff, especially the podcasting division, just because we're like 33% sexier now.
Yes, nice.
Interesting.
Nice stats.
Well put. Thank you, Samuel. It's great to have you with us. Big thank you to Spinoff members, to Spinoff listeners. Try another podcast on the Spinoff podcast
In
network.
the network.
You know,
in this network.
not anywhere else.
Nowhere else.
You might like it. You might not. But you can just try it. You know, it's podcasts are like a box of chocolates. Can we just fade this out now?
There's something I genuinely
Immediately. Oh, yeah.
I'd like to add is that if you do, I mean, you're listening to this and you've made it to the end, so I have to assume you are a fan.
You might have just
Or-
lurched awake with a burst of apnea.
It's true. Or your bomber wanting to get some material for your next great write-up. But anyway, if you've made it here, you're probably a fan of one of our podcasts. Please share it, rate it, review it. Those things actually really make a difference to us. And that's all, really. That's all.
Thanks, Jane. Thank you to everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, all of those things. See you in 2023.
Bye.
Takite.
Kia ora, this is Toby Manhire, here to urge you to tune in to Gone by Lunchtime, a podcast with me, Annabelle Lee Mather and Ben Thomas, tackling the world of New Zealand politics, from policy to polling, from scandal to psychodrama. Listen to Gone by Lunchtime, brought to you by the Spinoff Podcast Network, wherever good pods are sold.
Kia ora e te iwi, Te Aihe Butler here, podcast manager at The Spinoff. If you enjoy listening to our podcasts, consider supporting our mahi by signing up to become a Spinoff member at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
The Spinoff Podcast Network.